Hello there, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of TA with MK. My name is McKay, and we're in the old cap today because Temperamental, Idaho decided to have a warm day. And I've actually been putting off some of my yard work and stuff, so I got my grass mowed today, I got my garage cleaned, I cleaned this room up. It's just some things I've been putting off because it's been cold. Typically, when it starts to warm up, I do wear hats. I need to get my hair cut sometime over the next week or so. But if you're wondering why, hey, this guy has been in a beanie every time I've ever watched his videos, well, it's been gosh dang cold. So anyway, in today's video, we're going to discuss the SPX now that we're going into the weekend. What did it do today? What do we expect, for the Bitcoin price over the weekend based on what the SPX did? And if you guys are liking the content, please remember to like and subscribe, and let's go. It's TA with MK. It's TA with MK. Now, to start out, we're on the SPX, the S&P 500. This is the 4-hour chart. I just wanted to give a quick reminder of what I went over yesterday. So yesterday, we closed right at this bottom of this red box right here at resistance. And I had mentioned that this zone, which was previously resistance here with a pretty good size rejection, then it came up to the top of the zone, rejection again, and then it finally broke out, and traveled up and eventually flipped this orange zone of support. That's where we started today, was right at that resistance. So I said it could go one of two ways. I mean, obviously that's not making any bold predictions, but what I had mentioned I wanted to see is us push back up through that level and eventually, test the underside of this orange box to see if we can, break through that. We did have a pretty good day as far as the S&P 500 went, but we closed. Now it's the weekend. We won't have any price action for the weekend. And I guess the concern would be, as we wait till Monday, is that we have a lot of confluence as to why this could get rejected, at least on the first go around, right? Because you have this area back here where it put in a little double bottom and it made this orange zone support, right, before it pushed higher. Well, then back here on its breakdown, that same exact level is where it put in a little double bottom, bounce, double bottom, but then it broke down, bearishly retested, and then, that's what basically led us to the price action of where we've been over the past several days. So the question is, and then we also have this trend line here, right, which can be drawn a lot of different ways, but as you put in these lows and lower lows and lower lows, you kind of have this zone of a trend line here that could also act as resistance. These are areas where people that are trying to get out of positions and potentially take profits, and so are we going to be able to break through it? Let me clear this up real quick. And let me discuss what we need to see. So come Monday, and I know I put this note up here on my last video that says we really want to see the SPX open bullish tomorrow. Now that was yesterday I put this. At some point, if we could break back into the pattern, that would be good. And what I mean by break back into the pattern is we're going to be contending with this area, like I said, of previous support. Now it's resistance. Can we break back above that and flip it as support? Because if so, then naturally we should trend up here to some of these mid-range zones. Doesn't mean we're going to go all the way back up to the top of here. I mean, obviously we could over time if things get bullish, but at least we could see some upside for part of the first half of next week or something if it can break back into this pattern. But I guess what's concerning is that what could happen and might likely happen is that all of these resistances are coming together at once, and it may just get rejected, at least the first time. Now, if it could come back down here and put in a low that's higher than this low, flip this red zone back as support, then maybe it can kind of do what this did back here and break finally back above orange, retest, and push higher. So we're going to have to wait till Monday to get us a little more clarity on which direction, at least in the short term, that the S&P 500 is going to go. But with it having had a semi-bullish day, what do we expect for the Bitcoin price over the coming hours or over the course of the weekend? Let's hop over there and discuss. Now, we are over here on the Bitcoin 1-hour chart, so this is going to be obviously a little more short-term analysis. Certain videos I'll do long-term where I'll talk about, hey, this is the best time to buy Bitcoin in my eyes is end of the year, or I might say this is what we expect over the coming weeks to months. Because I'm just doing a video kind of about what I expect over the weekend, I figure a good place to start is the 1-hour chart. Now, this is a chart that I posted in my Telegram group last night before Bitcoin actually broke above 30K. And links will be in the description if you want to join that Telegram group. I know I gave a shout out at the beginning already, but basically what I had been looking at was this potential inverse head and shoulders that was forming, which, an inverse head and shoulders, if you're new to trading, is just an upside down, head with shoulders. And basically this would be the left shoulder, the head, right shoulder, right? And for it to be, semi-bullish, you kind of want the shoulders to be the same depth, or if anything, you want this shoulder to have a higher low than this one. That's more bullish. If this had dropped all the way down here, for example, some people might still consider that a head and shoulders. I wouldn't, or at least not as bullish of one. But basically, it was just a head and shoulders more or less can be identified as a bottoming pattern. You know, we look for things like double bottoms. I've made videos in the past about that. Things like head and shoulders, really the right side of a head and shoulders, if you just ignore the whole concept of head and shoulders, or maybe that's just over your head, is just a low and a higher low, right? Which is a bottoming pattern. You have this low, price travels up, and you have this low, and then it travels up to the same area. So you're seeing that people are starting to be willing to pay a higher price, right? Which is the first sign sometimes of a reversal. Well, it broke that neckline, and then over the past, just since last night, I guess, it's just been kind of traveling sideways. Now you kind of have this little mini head and shoulders, you know, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Not something I would trade, but I'm looking at it as one of two things. Either it was just a slow, drawn-out retest of this neckline, which could be bullish, right? If this holds up and it's able to break back above into this green box, retest and head this way. The thing is up here, we had price action twice hit right around 20, let's see, what did it get to? 30, almost 31K. And so then you had a rejection here, and then you had a second rejection. That's what's known as a double top, which usually leads to a pullback, right? However, again, if this can retest down here and hold up as now support, this neckline anyways, and break back up in here, we can then expect another test of this mid zone, because you kind of have this green area that I'm looking at as kind of the low of the zone. I mean, obviously not the lowest. The prices can go down here would obviously be that, but what I mean by that is from back over here, you know, previous support, and then when it broke down, we're looking at this green as kind of being the bottom of the zone we need to get into again, and then we want to break above the yellow, which is basically flipping 31K as support, and then at that point, I would at least expect us over the weekend to come up here and test somewhere between 32 and 32,500. Now, this was something I also mentioned in my Telegram group last night, that if we could flip 30K initially as support and hold 29,800, that I expected us to trend up at some point and at least test. You know, these moving averages are up here, they'll act as resistance. Obviously, this was previously resistance back here and down here, so this red zone will be the bigger test. But if we can at least, you know, hold this neckline and break back over 30K, that's the key. Let's get back above 30K again. At that point, I would expect over the weekend for us to at least trend up and test that upper zone of around 32,250 to 32,500. Now, if that happens, which isn't a huge move, but it's a decent little move for Bitcoin with all this downside we've had, what could we expect out of altcoins? Well, to finish up the video, I want to hop over to the Bitcoin dominance chart and quickly kind of give my short-term analysis on what I expect out of those over the weekend. Alright, so this is the Bitcoin dominance daily chart, and if you're unfamiliar with the Bitcoin dominance chart, I go over it almost every day on my channel, but I'll just quickly tell you, if Bitcoin dominance is going up, that's generally bad for altcoins, and if it's going down, that's generally good for altcoins. I will leave a link in the description to an entire video I make where I go over Bitcoin dominance in depth, all the ins and the outs, so you kind of understand why that is, but in general, if this is going up, that is bad for altcoins. Now, I mentioned in yesterday's video that we had this big potential descending triangle that we were, if I read my note here, Bitcoin dominance is at resistance. So this was yesterday. We were worried because it was at this resistance right here of this trend line that had, you know, 1, 2, you could maybe call that 3 touches. And I said but the RSI was overbought, we want to see a rejection here. Well, it did peek its head above, and I guess what we're hoping for at this point is that this just ends up being a bull trap, which of course on the Bitcoin dominance, that would be a good thing actually. You know, a bull trap normally on most charts means that it's going to get rejected. You know, it's a fake out essentially, if you've heard that term before. It's a fake out and it's going to go completely the opposite direction. Well, in this case, that's exactly what we'd want for altcoins. Now, I also want to give you one other scenario though. Now that I'm in another trading group that I pay for, and there's a few admins in that group obviously that are more experienced than me, and I've been trading a lot longer, so I have to respect their TA even more than my own, of course. These are the guys that taught me how to trade. Now, one of the guys has been tracking a potential symmetrical triangle that basically would have started here with these tops back in late October of last year and to there. You know, so you had to have this 1 touch, you know, 2 touches, 3 touches. I know I didn't draw that good. I just want to be able to delete it quickly when I'm finished. But and then down here you had a touch, 2 touches, 3 touches essentially. And then it looks like it, you know, if I would have drawn this a little bit better, you know, connected it right, there you go. You can see that it broke out and then it even retested. So I can see why he, you know, this wasn't necessarily a pattern he had been tracking, maybe on his own, but he hadn't been posting it in group. But he posted it today, and I'm like, you know, I could see that. Especially where after it retested, you saw, you know, a pretty good pump up to this top trend line. So at this point, what we could kind of hope for over the weekend for at least some short-term alt relief is that at least temporarily this is a fake out, and maybe it will work its way back down to either retest the breakout of that triangle or at least retest maybe like this zone here that was support back here, resistance there, so this kind of like zone throughout the middle of here is a level, you know, at around 42.5% for the Bitcoin dominance. I'd like to see it trend down there. As long as it is, we should get some good altcoin trading over the weekend. The one caveat or thing to look out for that would wreck that would be if we break back out above this, put in a higher high than this high right here, which is about 45.3%. Come back, retest, and start trending this way. If that happens, that's going to be bad for altcoins. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bad for Bitcoin. It going up could mean Bitcoin also is going up. It just means that instead of an altcoin season, it would be Bitcoin season. And then one final plug before I send you guys on your way for my Telegram group. I just wanted to give a shout out to a guy named Oscar that recently joined the group that's been also posting charts and ideas in there with me over the past couple of days. This was a chart he posted yesterday where the FTM3L on KuCoin, the 3x leverage token, was in the process of breaking out of this green box. You know, he had mentioned that a retest of that support, or hopefully a support resistance flip, would be a good entry option. So basically the break, he was looking for the retest here. We both agreed that up around here would be a good spot to take our profits. This red zone up here that was, you know, support back here, resistance, and that's what started this whole long downtrend. And shout out to him and anyone in the group that took the trade. It actually ended up being, I know it went over 100% at one point, depending on where you took the trade, but we hit it for about 60%, which in my opinion is a pretty good day's work. I do hope you guys are enjoying the content, and if you are, the easiest way to express that is to, you know, like and subscribe. I know a lot of you that watch my videos are already subscribed, but if you have any friends online that, you know, are into crypto and stuff, maybe give a shout out, let them know, hey, there's this weird dude that I watch, you know, every day or every other day, and sometimes he makes me laugh, sometimes he don't, you know, whatever you want to tell him. But I appreciate all of you, and I hope you guys have a beautiful weekend. Also, remember, I have links in the description for my new Telegram group. We're at about 8 members so far. Everyone that's joined has been really cool. So come join that community, help us grow that up. We can share, you know, TA ideas, charts, and all of the above. So guys, have a good weekend, and we'll catch you tomorrow. It's TAwithMMK.